Good morning, everyone. So I'm here to talk about AI and paid ads. Every year, the progression of AI is compounding, and what I mean by that is that the progression of AI tools is getting faster and faster in shorter periods of time. In all of these AI tools on platforms, they're being pushed harder and harder. And I hope that you'll leave with an understanding of the pitfalls of reliance on AI in paid ads. So what we're going to cover is the progression of AI tools in the form of a timeline, what's available in 2026, the AI trade-off, the pitfalls of over-reliance on AI, where our human intuition and expertise is still required, and then final thoughts and questions. So first, we're going to go over the progression of AI tools. So here is a timeline from 2016 to 2026, and we start with smart bidding, which most of you will know is a machine learning bidding system that automatically adjusts bids to maximize conversions or revenue, and this was in Google Ads. So that is the sort of first big introduction of machine learning in ad platforms. And we got Broad Match, which uses AI to match ads to a wider range of relevant searches beyond exact keywords. So Google Ads machine learning will expand beyond very tight keywords and look for similar keywords with intent, but over a much larger scale. We got AI recommendations in Google Ads, which are automated suggestions for campaign improvements based on account data and performance trends. So a lot of you will have seen these in Google Ads, and there's even a specific tab. A lot of these recommend using broad match or automated bidding strategies. We got Performance Max later on, which is a goal-based campaign type that uses AI to automate targeting, bidding, creative delivery, and placement selection across Google's inventory. So YouTube, Google search, display, Gmail, and discovery. And you can't, or at least in the past, it was very difficult to control. And in many ways, it is still difficult to control where your ads are shown. There's a Meta's Advantage Suite as well, which covers audience targeting, placements, budgeting, and optimization. Meta will often throw in metrics that you'll see in increased conversions if you use their automated audience targeting rather than using specific audience targeting features. Copilot in Microsoft Ads, which is like ChatGPT within Microsoft Ads, is an AI assistant that helps advertisers generate assets and analyze performance through natural language prompts. Meta Creative AI is a generative tool that creates and adapts and enhances ad creative variations. So that's your primary text, headlines, descriptions. It will generate alternative versions for you to try that try and mimic your original copy. There then is Ask Advisor, which is Google's chatbot, released more recently, I believe last year. So Google's cross-platform AI assistant that provides recommendations and analysis and support in Google Ads. So you can ask it a question about campaign performance. It will try and retrieve data about the campaign and regurgitate it back to you. And we've got AI Max, which is an evolution, of Google search campaigns. So they enhance and expand targeting and ad relevance beyond traditional keyword matching, which falls in line with their AI mode and AI overview. So this is trying to capitalize on longer and longer keyword and search terms. And their Meta AI Business Assistant is their in-platform AI advisor that analyzes performance, identifies trends, and recommends optimizations. So I've used this, and you can click on a campaign or an ad set and ask it to tell you what the top performing ad creatives are and areas for optimization. So if we move on to what's new in 2026, there is Meta's AI Business Assistant, which I previously discussed. Google's Marketing Live event happened a few weeks ago, and they introduced some new developments for Ask Advisor, so that it works across Google Ads, Analytics, and Merchant Center. So rather than acting as a single tool on one platform, it can use multiple agents across the platforms. So, for example, it can ask, get product information from Merchant Center to help build campaigns in Google Ads. So, if you have a really popular product in an e-commerce campaign in Google Ads, it can fetch you the information from your Merchant Center and also information from Google Analytics to help with overall strategy. And then conversational discovery ads, a new type of ads which focuses on AI mode. So it allows advertisers to appear within AI generated search experiences by responding to the intent. So now we're seeing queries which aren't just banks in Cardiff, for example. This will try and reach banks in Cardiff which have above 2% interest rate on an individual savings account, for example, or even more complex queries than that. So yeah, these are all trying to capitalize on search as well, and how people are using AI chatbots more. So this is the AI trade-off, and it has a list of platform tools, what the AI does, and what this results in, and what you may lose in this trade-off. So with AI Max, it expands beyond exact keywords and uses AI to identify additional relevant searches. This can result in more reach and uncover new conversion opportunities. But the trade-off is that you're giving Google more freedom to decide which searches are relevant. You may see vanity metrics increase, such as impressions or clicks, but you'll lose influence over how your traffic is being matched, which can result in wasted spend on search terms which are irrelevant. Then there's Performance Max, which automates placement targeting, bidding, and asset creation, which is extremely efficient because Google's AI has access to signals advertisers don't, which they won't give you, by the way. They probably could if they wanted to. But the challenge is transparency when you're using Performance Max. It can be difficult to understand why Performance Max chooses certain placements, and it's difficult to steer it in a specific direction, and can be referred to as a black box campaign. Then there's Meta's Advantage Plus suite, which automates audiences and placements. This cannot help campaigns scale effectively more than manually defined audiences. However, we lose the precision by doing so that we had when we were choosing specific audience segments. And you need to increasingly trust Meta's algorithm to find the right people. This has been made more pronounced by Meta taking more detailed targeting options away. So we're increasingly being pushed to adopt these features without having a choice. And then I've lumped in AI-powered business assistants together, such as Ask Advisor or Meta AI Business Assistant, which, as I said, sort of analyze performance and suggest actions and identify trends, which can save massive amounts of time on reporting and analysis if you do that regularly. But the risk is accepting recommendations without understanding the wider business context. It can spit out false information, and I've seen this where it will pull up wrong cost per conversions using other cost metrics. And if I hadn't checked, then that might have gone in a report. So we need to do our due diligence. So while AI can identify patterns, it doesn't always understand everything happening in your business or in your business market or your website. So the more AI we adopt, the more efficiency and scale that we might gain, but we're giving up more of our control. So we need to understand where automation adds value and where our expertise is still required. So here's the direction of travel. So on the one end, on the left, we've got manual, and then on the right, we've got agentic. So over the last few years, we've moved from AI helping with individual tasks, such like smart bidding and automated targeting, to AI becoming an active participant in campaign management, which is more agentic. So giving your Ask Advisor a prompt to create a campaign and it being able to do that for you. We aren't there yet, but that is the direction of travel. So today, these tools mainly recommend actions, but increasingly they're taking actions for us, like generating images and ad copy, or suggesting audiences, or reallocating budget. While these tools are becoming more capable, advertisers are getting efficiency, but losing visibility and control over how decisions are being made. So we ultimately need to decide how much control we are willing to hand over. And while AI can make decisions, doesn't necessarily mean that it should make every decision. So this is where we're going to look at the pitfalls of over-reliance on AI. So here's a list. So reduce visibility into decision making. So if we over rely on AI, we might have limited transparency into why bids, placements, audiences, or creative choices were made. So this goes for like a Meta's Advantage Plus suite. So if we give it control over these things, we're losing that control there. So it's harder to diagnose performance issues in some instances, and difficult to explain results to stakeholders or clients if we're just giving more control and doing less manual work ourselves. We can't see how making a change results in a result if we're just letting AI do it for us. Left targeting control, as I've sort of touched on before. So these tools push in broader audience targeting, less control over keyword matching, reduced ability to exclude irrelevant traffic, which results in an increased risk of wasted ad spend. There's budget allocation you can't fully direct. So traditionally, the machine learning algorithms will push what's working rather than maybe what needs budget, or what might be a lower performer but have a higher return on investment. So spend may shift away from your strategic priorities as a business. High performing products or services can receive that disproportionate budget, as AI will favor what's already working, and new offerings may struggle to gain visibility. Poor data equals poor decisions. So if you have a strict CMP setup on your website, or duplicate conversion tracking that you weren't aware of, or tracking which is missing conversions, or no conversion tracking entirely, this will lead to poor optimization of these AI platforms. So they can't make informed decisions with incorrect data. If you're not importing offline sales into your platform, this can do skew decision making as well. So if you're running e-commerce and it's only seeing your conversion from your website, but not conversions from offline, then that will skew how it makes a decision. And weak attribution models can train AI incorrectly. So it's really important that if we are going to rely more and more on AI, that our conversion tracking setups and our CMP setups are giving the AI the best chance possible. Over optimization towards platform goals. So AI will prioritize quantity over quality in many instances, and this can be leads or low margin products. So your lead quality may suffer if it chases poor leads. So it might go after leads which are irrelevant to what your business is looking for, or it may push a product which has high sales but low margins, rather than a product which has lower sales but higher margins. So your revenue and profitability may be overlooked by these tools. Also, a decline of human understanding. So we can end up with reduced platform expertise and less understanding of audience and platform behavior. And it's harder to spot emerging issues. So while I can ask AI, how can I improve the campaign? If I'm not delving into the numbers myself, then that is going to be a big problem down the line. Creative homogenization as well. So if we're all relying on tools, then the output is going to become similar. So if I work in the automotive industry and I'm asking to generate ad copy, and then my competitor down the street is doing the same thing, and these tools are trained off of content which they get off the internet, then the output is likely going to be the same. So my business is going to become less distinctive from theirs, and we're going to end up with similar messaging. AI hallucinations and content errors are still an issue, so we can have incorrect claims appear in our content, factually inaccurate ad copy, and this can result in brand guideline violations, compliance, or legal risks as well that we must be really careful of. And lastly, reduce strategic thinking. So if we could get into bad habits of accepting AI recommendations without challenge, for whatever reason, or we optimize tactics rather than strategy. And what I mean by this is that we'll ask AI how to improve the conversion rate or the CPC, and maybe lose sight of the wider strategy that we were going for in the first race, because AI, as I said earlier, will sort of optimize towards the vanity metrics, but isn't thinking about wider business strategy. So we'll lose sight of wider business goals and treat AI outputs as answers instead of suggestions, which is a really big red flag. So where a human intuition is still required. So commercial priorities, AI will optimize towards the goal it's given, but we know whether a product has poor profit margins, or a service is difficult to fulfill, or stock is running low. While AI might increase conversions, it might harm profitability. So we need to still be in the driver's seat when it comes to the commercial priorities of the business. Interpreting cause versus correlation. So AI can spot patterns, but it doesn't sometimes understand why they happened. So your leads increased after a budget increase, or your conversion rate dropped after a landing page changed. So this could just be correlation rather than causation. So we can investigate whether these events are connected with the tools disposable to us, but the AI in its current form is not able to do that kind of decision making and analysis. So there's creative judgment and brand positioning. So AI can generate ad copy and creative variations, but it doesn't understand our business's brand identity or its tone of voice and the market positioning and competitive differentiation. So it can create ads that are technically correct, but fail to communicate what makes a business unique, or what makes us funny or interesting to our customers and consumer base. Understanding customer psychology. So we are still needed to understand our customers' motivations, objections, fears, trust signals, and buying triggers about our products and services. And we still need to challenge platform recommendations. So platforms like Meta and Google are incentivized to increase adoption of these tools, because it will ultimately bring in more revenue. And we know, if you read the news about AI, they're spending billions and billions on these tools in the hopes that they'll return a lot of revenue for them. So it's in their best interest that we adopt these tools. But we need to ask, do these recommendations align with my strategy as a business? Is this actually what's best? And what are the trade-offs of accepting recommendations given to us? Just because these tools will give you a recommendation, it doesn't mean it's the right decision, especially when we know that if they're trained off poor data, that their decisions and recommendations could just be incorrect. There's also market and competitive awareness, so understanding when a new competitor has entered the market, aggressive competitive promotions or industry disruption or regulatory changes. So Google Ask Advisor isn't aware of these things, and we are. So we can ask Advisor why a campaign has not performed, knowing that there's been regulatory changes, but Ask Advisor won't know those things. So that's where our intuition is still required. And knowing when to break best practice as well. So some high performing campaigns do unconventional things, and we need to be able to make those decisions. AI is not going to recommend doing off the wall approaches a lot of the time. It will stick to what it's been trained off of. And understanding the performance beyond ads. So if you have a poor landing page experience, this is obviously going to impact your ad performance, but Ask Advisor can only go what it's trained off of, which is in-platform data. You might be in a really competitive market, and that could be increasing your cost per conversion or your cost per click. It might be your pricing and promotional strategy as well, or impacting your conversions, and user journey, your external market influences as well. So there's lots of things that Ask Advisor and Meta Business AI can't pick up on that we can. Last two, so campaign strategy. So we need to be in the room then to dictate the campaign objectives, budget allocation and prioritization, audience and channel selection, and aligning campaigns with business goals. So it's important that we keep these in the back of our mind when we're reading recommendations from Ask Advisor, and identifying data quality issues. So Ask Advisor isn't going to know if your leads generation form is not tracking properly. It will just tell you that you're not having conversions over the last 3 months, and that you need to do this to improve campaign performance. But if we know that in our Google Tag Manager that the trigger is not set up right, then that's the problem and not the campaign itself. So my final thoughts. So this is just a flip on the phrase trust but verify. So use AI, verify everything that it spits out. So AI is going to improve. It will get better at execution as we move towards the agentic side of things. It can analyze more data in a very short period of time, faster than me. It can accelerate campaign setup and optimization and reporting, but it lacks the things we talked about, like business context, commercial judgment, and accountability as well. So ultimately, the buck still stops with us if we're accepting these recommendations, on behalf of clients or shareholders and stakeholders, and AI still makes mistakes. What we should do, though, is continue to test new features. So test Ask Advisor, ask it difficult questions, and see what it comes back with, and then verify yourself what it spits out. Over time, we might see that it gets closer and closer to the truth. Continue to expand. Sorry, 1 second. Continue to expand our knowledge of ad platforms. So with better knowledge comes better decision making. So I think now is the time to improve our learning of how Meta ads and Google ads and Microsoft ads work, rather than take a step back because AI is doing more of the decision making. Because if we know how these platforms work, then we can understand how it's coming to that decision and that recommendation, and then we're in a better place to challenge it. Whereas if we have poor platform knowledge, we're more inclined to believe what it's saying because it's spitting out a word salad that says it will increase your conversion rate, and we're going to want to believe that. Experiment and learn how each tool behaves. We need to write better prompts and ask better questions when we're using these tools. And we need to validate AI recommendations against the performance that we're seeing, and that's across platforms. And we need to understand the trade-offs of taking on AI recommendations before applying these changes. So the marketer's role is changing. So we're spending less time on manual optimizations, and we're spending more time on strategy and decision making, and more responsibility interpreting results. And we need to spend more time questioning recommendations. So thank you, everyone. That sort of brings us to a close. I'd like